My name is Song. It's like sing song, but it's spelled differently. I went to Milwaukee High School of the Art, and this is my face of refugee essay. I'm just gonna read it. It is hard to live in a place where wars are happening all the time. Can you imagine seeing your own parent killed and screaming for help? Deep in my heart, knowing that you can... Sorry. Deep in my heart, knowing that you can't do anything to hurt the most. When I saw there was fighting and people were dying, I saw people on fire. My uncle died from the war and the fighting. I was crying. I was alone, with no one to hold me close tonight. No one to shush my sadness away, tears away, just an echo of other family. Something, a lost hope that linger around us. My grandparents, they're still back in my country. I'm scared that they will die too. I used to see people still dying and screaming for help. A house that are on fire and destroyed by the army. The most beautiful tree that I have planted and the most beautiful birds that I have seen, they're all gone now. The trees are on fire and the birds are starving and waiting for someone to feed them. I know our only hope was to move to a place where our lives will happy and we can grow like a plant. We're like a butterfly, trying to find a home and place to eat. If the plant owner won't allow us to eat, our life is like a worm trying to dig a hole to feed itself. When I was little, I used to wish my thoughts away. I used to think that eventually everything will be okay, that the war that was happening was a small hump to jump over. Now I see that there's no peace when it comes to war, unless someone stand up, unless many stand up. I had a thought that I can stop it, that I will fix everything. Then I realized that I cannot do it alone. It takes us, we as people, to make a difference. When I come to America, the tradition was different from me. The language was different, and their way of welcoming each other was different. When a boy reached for my hand for the first time, my eyes go wide. It was funny when I found out a handshake was used in America. American food has so much flavor. In my home country, most nights we only eat rice with no meat. Here we eat hamburger and of course fries. Now we never have to fight for a single meal. It was easy to forget about the people starving back home, to forget about the people who lost their loved ones and probably will lose more. America means heaven to refugees. That's the reason why me coming to America was a blessing. I cannot throw this opportunity away. I have a better education, a better home, and a better life. One day, when I return home, I will show a world without war. America may still have its bad people, but it is a place where I don't have to worry about my family being forced into a war they don't even belong. My mom said, it is hard to make peace in this war. And she would say, I'm thinking too much. Yes, I'm thinking too much. Yes, I'm poor and no one will listen to me. But I believe everyone can change the world no matter how poor you are, no matter how different you are. I believe little one can change the world. Thank you.
Well, hello everybody. Hi. My name is Beluga Tabala. Her mother was lying on the floor with blood all over her. Her mother's hand was cut apart. Her mother's stomach was opened with a knife, killing the baby she had inside. She stared at her mother in horror. She could not feel any part of her body, not even the courage to call out, "Mom, please do not die. Please do not leave me alone in this world. Who will love me? Who will accept me? Who will call me their daughter and mean it?" Dad was killed. My dear brothers, sisters, and now you. Who will I run to? Where should I go? Why didn't you take me with you, Mom? Tears started dripping on her cheeks as the thoughts started going through her small mind. Seeing her mother dead, and not naturally but murdered, was emotion she could not explain. Memories of how her father died started coming back. She wondered why she was put to this world to suffer this much. To lose her parents, her siblings. She was born in wars, raised in wars, and now she had to fight through it alone. Being a refugee is never easy. It's like turning chapters and never being able to get to the final page. Have you ever waited eagerly for, like the last episode or the final of a book? Imagine that the author never wants to publish the ending again. You will be left to wonder what happens at the end. Sadly, you will never find out. Being a refugee is just as mysterious. You just never know where your next chapter will be. There's a lot of pain inside a refugee. We either deny it or accept it. As a refugee, my life changes in a blink of an eye. I want to tell you about my life, from beginning as best as I can to now. My life story will start with where I was born in Congo, how I was raised in Rwanda, life in America, and my hope for other refugees. My name is Biloge Tabala. I was born in Bukavu, Congo. When my mother was pregnant with me, the wars were getting more and more bigger. There were days when the morning came and the neighbors were found murdered, so my parents moved a lot. My father wanted to keep me, my mother, and my 3 older siblings safe. Because of wars, jobs were unavailable. We needed basic things for survival, such as shelter, food, and clothes. While my mother was pregnant with me, my father moved to Rwanda to find a job. My mother struggled getting my older siblings food. She did chores in her house. Her stomach was getting bigger. She wondered when my father would return, or if he will ever return as safe as he left. My father was still in Rwanda when I was born on March 5th, 2000. He came back when I was a couple months old and recruited us. The journey for my parents to get to Rwanda alive was not easy, as my parents tell me how they had to pass dead bodies on the way. All I could think is that we could have been killed too. My mother recalls this. When I was a baby, I sometimes cried in the hiding places we went. My parents and siblings panicked. If we were found, we would get killed. After many long weeks, we made it safely into Rwanda. Although I cannot remember what I did when I was a baby, I do know my story as my parents had described it to me as I got older. When we arrived in Rwanda, we had to start getting used to living in another country, learning a new culture and language. Our neighbors quickly did not seem to like us. In Africa, a household usually has a helper in the house. The helper watches the children when parents are not home. They cook, clean, and somehow they become part of the family. When we moved to Rwanda, we got a helper. She was kind, but our neighbors were not. Since they knew that the helper prepared food for us, they commanded her to put poison in our food. My 3 older siblings and I were poisoned. I was months old at the time, so she put the poison into my sippy cup. My parents began to see very rare symptoms. At first they thought it was a cold and quickly realized it had to be major sickness. So we got sent to the hospital. Doctors could not find exactly what was wrong with us, but they knew that we might not survive. My mother suffered great pain. She could not bear seeing the 4 children she carried for 9 months all gone. It took about 6 years to eliminate a lot of the poison that were in our body. Despite being poisoned in other circumstances we faced in Rwanda, we managed to live there for 12 years. In 2000, my family and I moved into Rwanda from Congo. This was 6 years after the 1994 Rwandan genocide. The genocide had killed over 800,000 people. For me, the genocide that happened was something I never understood as a kid. As I lived through the aftermath, I started to understand the emotions that came along with the unfortunate circumstance. Despite the past, I spent most of my time playing outside. I loved the freedom to play in Rwanda. I never felt judged. I was a happy kid when time allowed me to be. My favorite days in Rwanda were holidays. At Christmas, my great brother will walk in the sun to find a Christmas tree. There was a lady who had a huge farm. On holidays, she would give us corn, avocados, and a Christmas tree. We got to wear our pretty new dresses, new shoes, and went to church. We knew that when we come back, there would be a big party. Everyone was at our house on Christmas Day and New Year. On New Year's Eve, my grandmother who visited from Congo will be up like the rest of us, waiting for the time to hit 12 a.m. When the clock hit 12, everyone got out of their houses with drums while singing, dancing, and shouting for the new year to come. It was the happiest times ever that I will always remember. Holidays here are different. We don't get to do what we did every year in Africa. Here it's much quieter and everyone is concerned about safety. America is a place that a lot of people want to be. My parents started the process of coming here in 2000. We were finally called to come here in 2012. When I first landed in the United States, it was a cold, rainy night. I loved the view. Part of me was excited and part of me was nervous to be starting a whole new chapter. I was a 12-year-old girl, not knowing what to expect. I did not know much about this country. I was just here. There was a lot of times when I felt homesick and felt like I did not belong, especially when I started 7th grade here in Milwaukee. I recall loneliness, tears on my paper, my clothes, balls thrown on my face, hatred, being called so many names and given fingers. I sat alone most of the time. I was not able to express my feelings to teachers because it was my first year in America. Although I could not fully speak English, I could understand it. I also began to realize they picked on me because I was a refugee. I was not American. I did not speak English. And I had a much calmer personality. Despite the hardships I have faced, I did not become resilient alone. I had teachers who have really supported me in ways I cannot explain. Because of their support, I have a voice. I'm more confident, and I believe in my future. My family and friends have also helped me by encouraging me to keep working hard, to not give up on days I felt like giving up, and to stay humble. I hope that my dear refugees also get the amount of support and welcomes that I have received. To show support and love, the next time you see someone in a beautiful traditional dress, like Major Pais right there in song, please tell them it is so beautiful. Smile at them, even if they may seem surprised by your sudden kindness. Just like you, we have faced losing loved ones, faced loneliness, and a lot of unexplainable pain. Why separate each other when we can console each other? Please, from now on, appreciate the diversity the world has. Take the time to understand one another. And sometimes,
being a refugee is not easy. Now it is really hard to build a new life in the USA for me and my family because we do not know the laws, ways, language, food, people, school, and home. The laws are different in the USA from my country. In the USA, I cannot go anywhere I want without my parents or my parents' permission. For example, if I want to go shopping to buy food or clothes without my parents, I cannot. In Malaysia, I could do this. Also, the rules in the USA are different from my country. because people drive on the opposite of the road. At first, I was scared when I saw the road and people were driving on the opposite side because I've never seen that before. The language is hard to understand for my family, but thankfully, I studied it in Malaysia, so it is a little easier for me. Sometimes people speak really fast and I cannot understand. The food that I used to eat is hard to find because there is pork everywhere in the USA, but not in Malaysia because it is a Muslim law. In my culture, people have to read the Quran, the Muslims' holy book, before they kill a cow. In America, people do not do this, so we cannot eat that type of meat. It is really difficult for us to find beef that is okay to eat. I do really like the brownies and ice cream here. The school in the USA is different from my school in Malaysia because in the USA the students switch classes for every period, but not in Malaysia. Because I needed to stay in one classroom and the teacher will switch every hour for every class. I like this about the school in the USA, but when I first came, it was really confusing. I was scared because I didn't know where I should go, which room. I could not find it. I was in ESL class where I could learn English better. I met many other students from different countries that are refugees also. They were sad when they had to leave their country like me. They had difficult times in school like me, but I helped them by staying positive. I felt safe in ESL class because the teacher was nice to me. She was always with me. She gives a lot of support to me. She supported me in everywhere. I got help from my teachers, from my school who helped me with everything, especially Miss Hellinger and Miss Soto, and volunteers from my tutoring center who helped with my homework. I got a good caseworker named John who helped me and my family with everything we needed. I really appreciated everything, all the people who helped me and gave the time for me.
Well done.
My name is Major Paul. I'm for Milwaukee School of Art, and I bring my mother today. And if you guys would like to know about my traditional clothing, today I'm wearing multi-side, like villager clothing. And they, in the multi-side they wear a lot of things and then a lot of necklaces. And then law white dress mean purity and single, like and virgin. And what my mom wear is married, and you're married and you have kids. Or if a single person wear those, you know that they're not virgin. They got married soon. My family from Myanmar, but I was born in Thailand refugee camp. The face of refugee. I am the face of a refugee. I was born in Miramar, Thailand refugee camp. The world called me a refugee girl. I grew up never dreaming to be, never wishing for much, and never hoping for more than what I have in life. Grew up as a refugee girl for a poor family. Life was harder than just being a girl. Every morning I woke up in a house covered with palm tree leaves, mixed for wood and bamboo cut in different shapes. I brushed my teeth with salt or charcoal. My sister and I would clean the house while my mother and my older sister cook. My father weaved baskets out of bamboo. My brothers watered the plants in our family garden. After the food was ready, we gathered together at the kitchen table to eat. For my family, every meal was a family meal. In the refugee camp, we ate white rice, spicy skinny fish, some boiled soup, and eggs once in a while. When we have a couple of eggs,
My mom fried and cut several pieces for each of my family members. After eating, I will grab my cotton book bag. I walk to school with my sister and my friends on the muddy streets. We all wear white top and blue skirt. My brothers wear a white top, but a shirt and pants. It was hard to wear a uniform every day due to the rain and the dust. My mom tried to help us wash our uniform and dry it for the next day. She made fire in the small gates, covered it with a big basket, and laid our clothes on top. She had to do it every day in rainy season. Seeing my family have to suffer in life made me feel small. Both my parents never went to school because their parents could not afford it. Every year, my parents own the school for our student fee. In the CAT, we have to pay for the school where we learn English, Burmese, Thai, and Korean. We also were able to study some math, social studies, and geography of Myanmar. But it was not enough for me to speak another language. The system of education in the refugee camp are so poor. My parents once told me, try hard to get shoulder to shoulder. Try hard for your education to get shoulder to shoulder with other people. But do not forget where you came from, and do not look down on someone like us who does not have education. I feel like I was in a box in refugee camp. I couldn't see what outside or around me. What can hurt my future or better my future? I lived there for 12 years. My family lived there 18 years. During those 12 years, I was never able to go outside the refugee camp for a better education. I never had a chance to visit neither my mother or my father's village. I never get to see the mountains my parents talk about. There were no wire of internet in refugee camp, so very few people can access to internet. As a refugee girl, coming into America was something I couldn't expect. A place I never dreamed to be in, and I did not know anything about. I never thought that I can be in this country and start a new life, because my family is poor and my father has no interest for the third country. My parents lost their home in Myanmar village and became refugees. Refugees must leave their legacy of land and everything that is dear to them. Families must separate, and children may never see brothers and sisters again. My father lived the legacy of his father. He had to leave the house God is strong. He traveled into the jungle with other families. They tried to keep the children quiet so the Burmese soldiers don't catch them. After my parents moved to a refugee camp in Thailand, there's no way we will move to a third country, America. My dad is the leader of the house. My mother listened to his decision. It was hard for him to make a decision because we cannot stay in refugee camp for so long. There were no jobs for them, and we keep owning money, food, and even bamboo to other people. Also, if we went back to the village, we will have to marry y'all and have a poor education for us. We will need money to build new house and transfer everything we own. Even worse, we will have to face the enemy again. My father lived in refugee camp long enough to grow papaya, mangoes, juju beans, tamarind, kaffir limes, and banana for us to eat. It was also hard for him to make a decision to come to the United States because we do not know anything about it. One night before family prayer, he called us to gather around in a circle. He told us that he will apply for the United States. The night before I came to the United States, I went in bed early to get enough sleep for a long car ride. Before I sleep, my prayer was, Dear our Lord Father, I thank you for everything you have done to me. Be with us through the hard time and help us. Feed us every day and for touching American heart for accepting us in their country. I ask that you will be with us throughout our way to America. When we get there, please bless us all like you did before. Give us the good friends, good teachers, good supporters, food and place to live. Be with us to build new life with everything we need. Without your help, we cannot do anything on our own. I please you and thank you so much. I'm a sinner. I can never pick back all the things you did to me. But please forgive me. Please listen to my prayer and bless me. And you only serve Jesus' name I pray, amen. When I got here, I knew that my prayer was answered by God. I got good food and good friends to live. Things are bigger than I thought. It was amazing my first day in New York City. It was then in American, but not in Italian. I sat in the airport and looked around. I saw two black security giving each other a broke hug instead of a normal handshake. I never saw hug like that before in Thailand. The big building and tall people make my eyes tired and fall asleep on the couch. My family were waiting in the New York City airport for another airplane to go to Milwaukee. We started to worry about us. We knew that we were not in Milwaukee because in Mesa, the lessons teacher told us about our journey to Milwaukee. But we didn't find any United Nations UN worker to lead us to the next airplane. Fortunately, my older sister knows English a little bit. So she go around and ask people who work in the airplane to find the UN worker. After we get on the last airplane, I met an American man. He treated me with a gun, so I got a feeling that America is a really good place with good people. Now I'm out of refugee camp. It's time to start a new life outside the past. My first day in school of Milwaukee got me off Chinese language. I was a wonder girl. My sister and I were the only two that did not wear red top and black pants. One of my neighbors told us that it's a school uniform. She also told me about the different English level group of newcomer students. There were three groups. A, the people who doesn't speak or understand English at all. B, the people who can speak and understand English a little bit. And C, the people who can speak and understand well enough to translate for other people, but still have to work on writing. One of the girl in group C translated from my sister and I in the first day of school, which encouraged me to improve my English. I was proud by how good her English was. I knew one day if I become as good as her, I would be very helpful to my family. We needed a translator everywhere we went. My mom would call herself deaf chicken because she could not understand anything at all. I was a deaf chicken for my first year in United States. I could see the moth moving, but I could not hear anything. One time my sister's study group messed at the little library in my reading teacher room, and none of them cleaned it up. The teacher yelled at them, and my sister had to clean it up. She was in tears while cleaning up because she could not understand what the teacher was saying. She just saw that the teacher was ugly with a hard voice and mean face. I wanted to stand up for her, but I could not do that. First, because we respect adults in my culture, and second, because I did not know how to speak English. Every time the teacher yelled or other people say bad things to me, I wanted to stand up for myself so much. I have my blood flowing in me, telling me that one day I will be there, where I'm no longer a deaf chicken. Now I'm here, where I wanted to be. I'm not like a deaf chicken anymore. I can understand and speak English. I'm able to help my friends and family. I thank God for giving me good friends and good supporters in Milwaukee. But I was not happy when I heard my neighbor for refugee camp, 8-year-old daughter was raped in Mesa while they come to follow up medical check. I could not understand why some people are so heartless. She's talented, smart, very respectful, and beautiful little girl. I carried her since the day she was born. She will have a brightest future if she have not been raped. Her father lost one leg in the Civil War in Myanmar, and her mother is deaf. Their life is poor, just like my family. It made me so sad when my parents told me about it. I pray that God will heal them and change the homeless people to good people. The abuse, rape, and the mistreating of refugees, women, and girls need to be addressed. We need to give space for them to be able to speak out. Usually when women got raped, abused, and mistreated, we will just forget about it. I wanted to help uneducated refugees to understand that we are the victim. I just took health class last year and understand more about unhealthy relationship. I believe that it does not have to do only with the relationship, but also the relationship in our environment. So I want to tell them how important it is for us to keep ourselves safe and the future of the daughter safe. I am inspired to help others, especially refugee women and victims of violation all over the world.